project manager, Turner and Townsend. I'm also the BIM lead for Ireland. My accent doesn't really show it, but I do actually work in the Dublin office, and I've been here for 3 years now. The other part of my role, as I said, is supporting and setting up of BIM projects with our clients. Initially, I just want to go through what this presentation isn't, so if you want to make a quick escape, feel free to. I'm not doing an introduction to BIM, you've already had that. I'm not going to be discussing how to build a model, and I'm not going to be going through should you be using BIM. I have to apologise though, because you are going to see the BIM wedge. I'm sure you've seen it a fair few times today. There can't be a BIM presentation without seeing the BIM wedge. My initial point is we are starting with, at the very, very start of the project, deciding what level of BIM, if BIM is required at all. There are various different discussions about levels of BIM, so I'm just going to quickly take you through the levels that currently are available. Level 0 is pretty much what we're working in at the moment, so that's working in AutoCAD and working in with written documents that aren't associated to the drawings. We then move on to level 1. Level 1 is where you start to introduce an element of 3D modelling. There may be some processes beginning to be put into place as well, but there is nothing structured about this. People are working in both 3D and 2D. Moving on to level 2. And level 2 is where we're going to concentrate for the rest of the presentation. Level 2 is where you're working with 3D models. You have a separate architectural model, an M&E model, and a civil and structural model. These are all worked in separately and then are federated together to make one model. The information is very structured. There's information embedded within this model, and there's a very, very structured processes and protocols to follow. Again, if you've heard of any of the other BIM presentations, there's been a lot of talk about the PAS 1192 documents, which are the documents developed by the UK government, which the majority of projects, certainly in Ireland, are picking up and using those documentations. And again, when we're working with clients, we recommend that the clients do follow the UK processes. As I said, for the rest of the presentation, we will focus on level 2. Oops, sorry, missed one. Level 3 does not exist yet. It's still in development. So if anyone ever says they're working to level 3, challenge them, because they cannot be working to level 3. There are people even still now who say they're working to 4, 5, 6, 7. You walk away from people like that. The next thing is, what do you actually want? Now, taking it away from BIM slightly, to the untrained eye, these are both Red Bull Formula 1 cars. But one of them only goes 140 miles an hour and produces no data. The other one goes 230 miles per hour and produces 2 gig of data per race. Just in case you're interested, it's the one on the right with the number plate, which is actually a road legal. Now, unless you've told your developer that you want the Formula 1 car that can race on the track, you don't know which one you're going to get. And in this situation, you've got a 50-50 chance of having the right car or the wrong car. It's a similar principle with the development of BIM, or in fact any construction project. You have to tell people what you want at the beginning of the project. You can't expect people to know what you want. BIM doesn't come in a box. It's not a one-shot pony. You have to define things. For this slide here, I've taken the work stages under the public procurement processes that we currently work under, so stages 1 through to 5, and then into in use. As you can see, there is a number of uses that can be found at varying different stages during the life cycle of a project. But the key is that the decision point for these is actually in advance of stage 1. That's not to say you can't bring those uses in at later stages, but there will be a cost or program impact of bringing those in at that stage. Now, the client may not want all these uses, so again, it's not just a case of saying, oh, I'll have everything. because there can be a cost associated to those uses. There is no point to a client getting something and paying for something that they are never going to want, desire, or use. In general, there is a 7-step process, and this is a process that we go through with all our clients. I'm going to run through them very quickly, but predominantly going to focus on the 2 highlighted in red. Initial document that the client is required to set up is an OIR, an Organisational Information Requirements. This is an organisation level document that sets out what they desire. It never goes near a project, it never goes near a design team, it is kept in-house at the organisation level. The Asset Information Requirements, the AIR, again, another document held at organisation level, and this is where the client will look at their specific assets and work out what they want from those specific assets. There will be one of those documents per asset. The first project level document is the EIR, and anyone who's worked in a BIM environment will have heard of an EIR, but I'd be very surprised if you've worked on a BIM project where there is an EIR on day one. Fundamental issue with setting up a project and not having an EIR in place, that is the document where you define your BIM requirements. Again, as I said before, if you don't tell people in advance, you can't expect them to know what you want from the model. The next document down is the CIC BIM protocols. This is a legal document that has been developed by the UK that is recommended and to go into everyone's appointment documents. You've got the PQQ BIM capability assessments. These are, again, have been created by the UK, can be edited for the Irish market. This will just assess the capabilities of your designers and your professional teams. Next one down is your common data environment. This is where you're storing all your models, all your information. Generally, a cloud-based system, the likes of 4 projects, those type of softwares. The last document, and this one is split into 2, is the pre-contract and the post-contract BEP, the BIM execution plan. And this is a response to an EIR and is a live document through the rest of the project. This graphic here comes straight from PAS 11922. The blue arrows around the outside take the project through its life cycle. So starting on the top right from the CapEx start through to the OpEx and then ending at the end of life of the building. And again, just to confirm, if you're working in a level 2 environment, this document has to be worked to by definition. And the EIR is at the very, very beginning of the project. So if a client is trying to bring it in later on in the project, that's something that they have missed at the beginning. Again, just a little graphic I produced earlier just to sort of demonstrate where these documents actually come into place. As we've just already discussed, the strategic brief, strategic definition stage is where the OIR and the AIR should be written. At the briefing stage, as the client is deciding what their building is going to look like, how big the building is going to be, what they actually require, they write their EIR, as they would write their scoping documents for their designers, for their project managers, for their quantity surveyors. That EIR goes out in the tender documents, should always be there. The BEP is written in response to that EIR at tender stage. That's the pre-contract BEP. That then gives, during tender assessment, the ability for your project manager or the client to ensure that the team that they are selecting fully understand their requirement. That document then, on signing of contracts, becomes the post-contract BEP and is a live document that is carried through until the contractor comes on board. Now, this is in a design and build situation, so obviously after feasibility, before detailed design, the contractor starts coming on board. Similar principle again. The BEP and the EIR will go into the tender documents along with all standard documents. The contractor will write their response to the EIR, and that's the BIM execution plan, and then at contract that again gets turned into a formal document, live document that is developed through the rest of the project. Similar process in the traditional form of contract. The only difference is that the contractor's work is between the detailed design stage and construction, but the principle is there. So in conclusion, the setup is the key of this. The setup can be I've broken down into four different sections here. Knowing what's being asked for is a hugely important point. Setting out the requirements in the correct way. If you're working in a level 2 environment especially, if you're working under the past documentations, it's there set out. If you divert away from those, you're not working at a level 2 defined project. Knowing where the responsibilities lie, and this is my key one, this is where I get involved a lot with clients, is the fact that a lot of the time you get it's the designer's responsibility to write an EIR. It's not the designer's responsibility. There is a front-end element that clients need to learn. With our support as professionals, they need to learn the responsibilities and the benefits they can get from the BIM. The final one is getting advice. BIM's very new in Ireland. It's not actually that old in the UK either, all throughout the world. There are very few experts around, but there are organisations such as TNT and others who have spoken today that can support clients, contractors, design teams with the setting up and running of their BIM projects. So that concludes my presentation. I said if anyone wants to ask me questions either now or later, there's my contact details.